Today I'm reacting to your Monday Night Raw Hot Takes. Hot Takes is a weekly video series where I give you all a platform to be able to voice your thoughts, whether they're good thoughts or bad thoughts or anything in between about the world of professional wrestling. So if you want to be featured in the next episode of Hot Takes, make sure that you're following me on X. I ask for your hot take on there after every episode of Raw, SmackDown, and every WWE Premium Live event. And I'm back from TwitchCon, so I'm back in my setup, although now my studio light doesn't work, so the lighting's gonna be a little bit wonky. But as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring that bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know you're gonna fall in love with this YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. All right, folks, let's read your stupid shit. I'm in shock. Jey winning was a hot take and Triple H gave us what we all wanted. Yeet. I'm still in shock as well. I was 1,000,000,000% certain that Bron Breakker was going to win this match. I was so certain that in the last episode of Hot Takes, I'm pretty sure I told you to take out a second mortgage and put it on Bron Breakker winning. I hope to God that you didn't do that. And the reason I was so certain was because all of the evidence that I've learned to just sort of analyze as a wrestling fan over the past 20 years was pointing to the fact that Jey was going to lose this. One, Jey Uso always loses these matches. Two, Bron Breakker was a dominant young champion that was still in the beginning of this dominant reign. And three, the biggest reason why I thought Jey was going to lose was because Jey was getting involved in all of this Judgment Day business, which made it just like the perfect opportunity for the Judgment Day to get involved and cost Jey Uso the match. I know we were all thinking at some point or another the ref was going to get pulled, that Jey Uso was going to get pushed from the top rope when he was about to do his splash, but none of that happened. This is why I am still in a complete glass case of emotion with Jey Uso winning, because shock championship changes just don't happen these days on episodes of Raw and SmackDown. It was an absolute treat. It caught me off guard, and I hope that maybe this is the return of the feel of Any Given Monday, where any given Monday, crazy things like this can happen, that you don't need to wait for the WWE Premium Live events to get crazy needle-moving moments such as this. Overall, I thought that the main event was fantastic. It was Jey Uso's best singles match of his career, in my opinion. Bron Breakker still looked amazing in this. He came out looking like $1,000,000 even while losing. I think that this was just such a great main event and an awesome decision. We've been calling for Jey Uso to win a major accolade for so long, to the point where it just sort of became a meme to expect him to lose every single one of these matches. So they gave us what we wanted. They just gave it to us when we didn't expect to get it. What a crazy turn of events. Rikishi is a happy fella. Yeah, maybe he can finally shut up on every podcast about how they're not booking the bloodline right, how Jey Uso should already be champion, how Solo Sikoa should be world champion. Okay, all right, stop being the dad that's over coaching over the actual coach's shoulder, Rikishi. The way Jey Uso has evolved as a singles wrestler has been absolutely phenomenal. It's crazy to think that this guy was, in the eyes of many, just a forever perennial tag team specialist. But it took a while, but the WWE finally got him to the point where he feels like this huge singles draw. He doesn't need to be attached to the bloodline storyline. He doesn't need to be attached to his brother. He doesn't need to be attached to anyone else. He is entirely on his own 2 feet right now as one of the biggest draws and the most popular WWE superstar on Raw, and one of the most popular WWE superstars in the entirety of the WWE. It's obviously incredibly impressive how the WWE has managed to change up his character and book him to the point where he's gotten to where he is now. But all the credit, in my opinion, has to go to Jey Uso, because he had to completely alter the way that he was as a wrestler and the way that he cut promos. He didn't have his brother to bounce off of. But the gamble to split up the Usos has worked tremendously well, at the very least for Jey Uso. And honestly, I'm just incredibly happy for him. It might not be the most important match of the year. It may not be the greatest in ring, but it is my favorite match of the year. And if you're a Jey Uso fan, how the hell could it not be your favorite match of the year? It's matches like these as to why I advocate for there to not be 7, 8, 9 matches on PLEs. We can have PLE worthy matches on shows like SmackDown and Raw, and we've been getting those recently because in a previous lifetime under Vince McMahon, this match doesn't happen the way that it should have happened on Raw. It would have ended in a disqualification, in shenanigans, in a roll-up, but they gave us a PLE-worthy finish on Monday Night Raw. What more can you ask, especially if you're a Jey Uso fan? Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman has been one of the best non-title feuds of the year. We've been getting a really good amount of non-title feuds in WWE this entire year. Like just recently, of course, we had American Made and the Wyatt Six over on SmackDown. We have Andrade and Carmelo going on. We have CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre. And now you're mentioning Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman. WWE is doing such a great job of building all of the aspects of their roster, not just the titles and the singles accolades. And Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman are an absolutely fantastic example of that. This feud has been so much fun. I cannot wait for the last Monster Standing match. I want these guys to just fight perennially, forever. I want to see these guys just throwing hands at all times. What I will say is I hope that at the end of this feud that Bronson Reed does stand tall. And not only does he stand tall at the end of this feud, I would love for him to get a world title opportunity or a shot at the Intercontinental Championship, because Bronson Reed has elevated and stepped up his game over the last 9 months to an insane level, especially right after SummerSlam. Unpredictable title changes is exactly what we needed back. The excitement when something like this happens is almost unmatched when watching wrestling. It's 1000% true. It really is. And the thing is that there is a difference between an unpredictable title change, something that you didn't see coming, versus a swerve. This wasn't a swerve because I felt like the title victory, although I felt it to be unlikely, still felt right. It still felt like a proper narrative decision. More than anything, it felt earned. This wasn't a title change that just sort of felt like a rushed, hey, shock them for the sake of shocking them. This was an earned title change that just people didn't expect to see happen at this very moment in time. But even though it was a shock title change, because it was earned, it feels right. I don't know that they necessarily need to bring shock title changes. You know, like the more that they happen, the less that they become shock title changes. What I personally would like to see more of is these types of matches and these types of title changes happening on Raw and SmackDown, because we are now in an era of professional wrestling where what happens on Raw and SmackDown doesn't always have to culminate on a PLE, especially now when it's so damn difficult to get on a PLE. Shows and storylines can begin and end on free TV on Raw and SmackDown. And I feel like those mid-card championships and those mid-card feuds are the perfect types of feuds and storylines to culminate from beginning to end on shows like Raw and SmackDown. And from time to time, the culmination of those feuds should include title changes. Braun versus Reed should be on the Bad Blood card. See, I'm actually starting to disagree with the statement that just because it's good on Raw and SmackDown, that it needs to be on the premium live event. I'm personally good now with storylines beginning and ending on SmackDown and on Monday Night Raw, and I feel like the Braun Strowman and Bronson Reed feud could be one of those. Same thing at this point goes for Andrade versus Carmelo Hayes. I'm good with that being a SmackDown feud, because if our expectations is that the culmination of feuds only happen on PLEs, then Raws and SmackDown become less must-watch TV. So I'm kind of backing down from this statement that just because it's good, it has to be on a PLE. I just don't think that has to be the case anymore. I wouldn't be mad at Dom winning the title off of Jey. I think it would be poetic since he lost his first title to the Usos. I don't really see the poetry, but I guess it is a form of circling back into moments in careers. But like unironically, Dominik Mysterio would be an interesting choice to dethrone Jey Uso and become the Intercontinental Champion, because as over as Jey Uso is as a babyface, Dominik Mysterio is equally over on the other end of the spectrum as a heel. So to a degree, Dominik Mysterio might be the perfect foil and the perfect person to dethrone Jey Uso down the line. Because we want to reward somebody like Jey Uso with singles gold because of all of the awesome work that he's done, how over he's gotten. But at some point, we got to also give the respects and the flowers to somebody doing it on the other side of the morality coin in Dominik Mysterio, who has done an amazing job at getting himself over as like the most hated heel in the entire company. So I don't hate this. I think this is actually a pretty good idea just further down the line. Iyo Sky should be a champion right now. The crowd loves her and she puts on banger matches with anyone. She's the most reliable woman on the Raw roster right now and should always be treated as a top star. No disagreement here. I feel like she's in the tag team division right now, one, to help elevate the tag team division itself, but two, to keep her away from Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, because I do believe that once Iyo Sky sets her eyes on singles women's gold, that we're looking at like some major dream match potential caliber matches. I would love to see Iyo versus Rhea at WrestleMania. Like, to me, that is absolutely Mania worthy, but you gotta keep them away from each other for as long as possible. And right now, one of the best ways to do that is by keeping Iyo Sky in an entirely different division. But I agree with you, man. I believe that Iyo Sky might be the best women's wrestler on the main roster right now. I'm pretty sure that Bron is going to be fine. He definitely will win the Intercontinental Championship again. Oh my God, yeah, of course. Bron Breakker is going to be just fine. I said in the last hot takes that, yeah, Bron Breakker could absolutely eat a loss. It wouldn't hurt him. I just didn't think that he would eat a loss. But this isn't gonna hurt him in any regard. It's still Bron freaking Breakker. He's still the badass, and he lost to one of the most over baby faces in the entire company. That is just not a burial, as some people are calling it. I also want to push back against the notion that people are calling Bron Breakker a transitional champion. I just don't think that you know what a transitional champion is. A transitional champion isn't somebody that held the title for a short amount of time. A transitional champion is somebody who's holding the belt and there were never really any plans for them, as we were just waiting for somebody to take the title off of that person so that we can make the new champion something important. That's literally just transitioning from one place to the other. Bron Breakker, on the other hand, was not a transitional champion. He elevated himself with this championship. He didn't hold it for very long, but he absolutely made the championship feel special. We weren't clamoring for somebody to take the title off of him and actually make the title meaningful. That's just not what a transitional champion is. Bron Breakker is going to be just fine. Trust me, he's still going to win multiple championships. He's still going to win tons of world championships. Probably going to end up in the WWE Hall of Fame. It's going to be fine with Bron Breakker. The New Day storyline never needed Odyssey Jones. Kofi and Woods are both phenomenal in backstage segments and have unmatched chemistry. I think that they can do a brilliant long-term story here, and this is just the beginning. Not only did it never need Odyssey Jones, I don't think that it ever needed Karrion Kross. I personally love where this story is going, and I feel like he could have gotten to this point in the saga without Karrion or Odyssey Jones. I think that this has potential to be a WrestleMania worthy match and feud. I think that this could end up being what Jey versus Jimmy was supposed to actually feel like. And I'm just excited, and I would love the idea of WWE to explore not a full-blown heel Xavier Woods, but still a normal, happy-go-loving Xavier Woods that only hates Kofi Kingston. That would be interesting to me. But to me right now, the New Day is slowly becoming one of the must-watch parts of Monday Night Raw, after for several months being one of the most unnecessary, boring pieces of it because of what was going on with Karrion Kross. With Dom in the shark cage and no stipulation, Raquel returns to help Liv retain. See, with Dom being up there, I'm kind of thinking the same thing that you're thinking, that somebody else is going to come back and get involved in this match, and I do think that Raquel would be perfect. I think that Raquel and Liv Morgan could run around like Diesel and Shawn Michaels were doing in the 90s, with Raquel playing that Diesel role where she's the bodyguard of Liv Morgan. I personally really like this because it can also be a great way to continue to extend the storyline between Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley all the way up to most likely ending at Survivor Series. I don't know what Raquel's health looks like, but if she's ready to go, I feel like this would be a great place to insert her, in my opinion. Can we talk about how the midcard on both shows has been absolutely on fire lately? Braun, the other Braun, Knight, Mello, and Andrade really deserves their flowers for their work that they've put on over the last couple of months. 1,000%. You are so right. And I think that part of the reason is that even though that these names are having a tough time getting on WWE PLEs, they're getting storylines that begin and end. And that's not a thing that always happened. The midcard for a really long time just sort of spun its wheels and never really got proper storylines that had a definitive start and a definitive finish line. But that's just not the case anymore. And yes, their finish lines aren't on PLEs, but their finish lines are on amazing matches on Raw and SmackDown. And more often than not, these are matches that are main eventing these shows, and I'm entirely okay with that. It is booking. It 100% is. It was never a problem with talent. The mid-card, in terms of talent, has always been amazing in the WWE. It's just that today, it's being booked the best that it's ever been booked. Finally, short title reigns are back. They're slowly starting to come back. I feel like Cody Rhodes' title reign is gonna be the last of the long title reigns that are happening. Cody needs to have a pretty lengthy run because he's following up literally one of the longest title reigns in the history of the WWE. But when we look at the Intercontinental Championship, the legacy of Gunther elevated the championship, but we're no longer following up Gunther. We've got some people in between the last time Gunther was champion, so we don't need to make Gunther the barometer of what's a good championship run anymore. But I do think that it's going to start happening. I don't think that we're going to go back to the land of year, 2 year, 3 year long title reigns. I think that you're going to start going back to the era of 4, 5, 6 month title reigns being considered lengthy. I'm just glad they're letting Brutus be the food review version of himself on TV. He was hilarious tonight. He was. I'm glad that they're giving him that personality that you're talking about, the food review version of him. But I'm also feeling that with American Made. I find them really intriguing, really engaging, and I want to hear them talk their shit. Look, a lot of people were concerned about what was going to happen with American Made after the feud with the Wyatt Six, but I think that we're slowly seeing that the more that everyone from American Made starts to come out of their shell, the more you realize that there is talent beyond just what happens in the ring. Like everyone, when you put them together in this package, ends up making an awesome group of piece of shit jocks. I think that you're going to be seeing a lot more of American Made and that they're going to become one of the staples of what makes Monday Night Raw so good. RIP Intercontinental Championship. I didn't even know this was a thing. The Intercontinental Champ. I just wanted to share that with you guys. Bring back Santi streams. Look, I'm back. I was gone. I missed a bunch of streams, but listen, I know. You had to watch some other bum-ass streamers, watch some other bum-ass reactions, but the OG, the guy that you want to see is back, all right? Just sit back, relax. We're going to be streaming a heck of a whole lot leading into Survivor Series. I'm really digging this story. I hope for one last time, Miz brings back the 2017 heel version of him. Miz is a really underrated heel. Miz is one of the best heels in the modern era, if not ever. I don't think that the Miz is underrated as a heel. I think everyone knows that he's amazing as a heel. But I agree with you. I'm digging this far more than what was happening with the New Day, Xavier Woods, and Karrion Kross. That just wasn't working for me. But this is kind of working for me. It's almost like, sorry for the Dragon Ball Z reference, when Vegeta became Majin Vegeta, Vegeta used to be this horrible, evil guy, started becoming more domesticated and a good guy, and then towards the end in the Majin Buu saga, he ended up finding his evil version again, and it made him super powerful. Maybe we're about to see Majin the Miz. Again, sorry if you don't follow Dragon Ball. Whoop, that went over your head. But the Miz just hasn't worked as this babyface, especially if R-Truth is not around. I did not like him doing the John Cena moves. Like that's Cena's one of his biggest rivals. What is he doing homages to John Cena? It just didn't work. So if this is going to be how the Miz starts to dig down to become this monster version of himself, I'm all for it. This was Joe Tessitore's best night as a commentator. He absolutely made Jay's championship victory feel very climactic and so rewarding. I'm so glad that you brought this up. That call when Jey Uso won the championship from Joe Tessitore wasn't just one of Joe's best since, joining the WWE. That shit was legendary. Like the man had been doing this for decades. It was such a good call. It elevated the moment. It made what Jey Uso had accomplished feel like this impossible thing that we shouldn't have witnessed. It was such a great call, and he was great throughout the entire night. This man just continues to get leaps and bounds better. His progression, it has to be studied at this point, honestly. All right, folks, thanks so much for submitting in your hot takes. We'll see you in the next video. That's it. I'm done. Get out of here.